What's up? Real MVPs, Ricky Widmer here, and I am joined with my beautiful co-host, Soapy Muffin.
Hey guys.
And we are back.
Sorry, I stepped into Dave's territory. Hey.
Hey guys. We are back for another edition of MVP Games Live. I know you might be thinking, well, guys, you weren't here yesterday. I knew about Wednesday. You tweeted it out and said that you weren't, but you weren't here yesterday. You might have been all sad with the little puppy dog guys. We apologize for that. We were going to record the WWE podcast we were going to do that I knew was going to take at least an hour and a half and would cut into Games Live anyways. We were going to do it Wednesday, then had to delay it till yesterday. So that's why we had the 2-day hiatus and not just the 1-day hiatus. But we are back, Soapy, to end the week. And we got a nice little bit of gaming news. Maybe also because we let a little bit of it stack up. I don't know. But before we get into everything today, let's go through the housekeeping. Very quick and simple. Number one, Discord. Join it down below. Great community. The best community. If I have to say, it's the best community in all the land. All the land because I made it. I made it. It was Dave's idea, but I'm going to take credit for it. Because that's what I do. I take credit for everything. No, just join it. It's a great community. Link down below or exclamation Discord into Twitch chat. If you want to support us, check out patreon.com. Patreon.com/MVPvids if I don't get little mush mouth going on here. You can also support us at Twitch by throwing us a sub where we are live every Monday through Friday. Twitch.tv/MVPvids. But we are also on YouTube at MVP Entertainment. Also, thank you to our Patreon sponsors, Pat, Hill, and Philly. Sean, Dave also says Dave has ideas. Ricky has follow through. It's why we work. It's exactly why we work. I was in the Trump mode, and I was like, well, Trump would steal ideas. So I'm gonna go and do that. But first thing we're talking about, Soapy, is this is a game that the last time I remember even talking about it was when Google Stadia wasn't even a thing yet. The Stadia was new. It was like, ooh, this cloud gaming. How is it going to work? We were all excited to see what it could do. And it was like, ooh, this game could be launching with the Google Stadia. Then, what was it, last week, early this week? Dave put an article in the Discord, or I think it was the store link, for it on Steam and said, hey, I'm going to keep an eye on this. If it's a good game, might be worth checking out. And Soapy, I know that you kind of went ahead and responded to that. So I'm like, fuck it. I saw this article on Polygon, and I'm like, let's talk a little bit about Baldur's Gate 3. And their whole article is about Baldur's Gate 3 is the replacement to tabletop D&D I need right now. And here's a little excerpt from it. The Baldur's Gate series has always been based on D&D, so that's not surprising. What is surprising is exactly how much the experience of playing Baldur's Gate 3 feels like sitting at a physical table with actual dice in hand. The game takes on the role of the player's handbook, a dice roller, a battle map with miniatures, and dungeon masters all at once. Lots of games take the mechanics of a tabletop RPG like D&D and moves them over the hood. Dice rolls happen in the background and your modifiers get added automatically. Baldur's Gate 3 opens the hood for me to see those dice rolls as they happen. I see an icon over the head of a character when they fail a saving throw. I get a success notification when they succeed a perception check or reveal a hidden button. There's a note in the corner of the screen when my character remembers whether or not they read about a monster in a book, instead of wondering about the secrets hiding in the black box of the game's inner workings. I'm invited in. I'm part of the process. I get to see what went wrong and what worked. Soapy, what are your thoughts on Baldur's Gate 3? What are your kind of expectations for Baldur's Gate 3? And could this be something to where, like this article states, this is the replacement to D&D that you might need right now because of where we are in the world right now? There's probably a lot of D&D groups that have been kind of pushed to the side or haven't been able to do what they usually like to do because people aren't gathering like they used to because of the pandemic.
All right, so my expectations, if I could speak fucking English, dude, good god. My expectations are that like this game is going to be good because every other Baldur's Gate game has been really solid. It's been really good, and I have high expectations for it. But I gotta at least go on a rant for a second. I'm
Take
so
it, my
tired
guy.
of hearing
Take it.
I'm so tired of hearing the fucking it's gonna replace D&D. Listen here. This is the same argument that always comes up with this is the Fortnite killer. Here it is. Here it comes. You ain't gonna fucking kill the thing that actually inspired it.
Don't forget the original argument. The original one was the WoW killer.
Yeah. Like, I get it. I get the fact that it's an RPG game, but at the same time, people said the same shit about Divinity Original Sin 2. That didn't kill fucking D&D. The other Baldur's Gate didn't even fucking affect D&D. Fuck, they made a book about Baldur's Gate and D&D. I will never I get it that people are like they're looking for something to replace the old way, but even at that, with something that's as popular as fucking like Critical Role and shit like that, D&D will never be replaced. It's never going away.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing about D&D that makes it, because like Baldur's Gate, and right now on my tablet, I've just got fucking Asmongold has a video out where he played through it, so I'm just kind of having the gameplay roll just to kind of have an image of like, okay, this is what the game looks like and is. The thing that is different about it, and I get where the article says the replacement for D&D that I need right now, and I feel like they say right now because of where we are in our global history right now, where, like I said, not a lot of people are getting together. Like, everyone's talking about social distancing, like, there aren't big groups coming together. And I know Discord's a thing, and you can do your D&D campaigns over Discord, but D&D and Baldur's Gate are very different to where, yes, they might have the similar structure to it. You roll dice, you have a perception check, you have a saving throw, you have to do the same mechanics. But the thing that I liked about D&D, and yet again, my sample size is a lot smaller than yours, Soapy, because when you invited me to do a D&D group, that was my first introduction to D&D, to where when you're doing it with a group, I know that Critical Role is on like the one side of like they have the miniatures, and some people do. They have the miniatures and maps, and they kind of let everything map out. But for those of you who just sit around a table with your character sheets, there's a sense of imagination that I don't think will ever be replaced. Where like Baldur's Gate is great. I'm looking at Asmongold's dwarf as he's walking across the bridge, going into the building he's supposed to go into. And it's like, okay, you can actually move your character around and see the world. That's great, but it's never going to replace what D&D gives you. It's never going to replace that sort of imagination in your mind, like especially for your end, Soapy. And I feel like this is where you come so strongly to this argument. Is you're usually, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're usually a dungeon master, or I know you have done the whole DM thing. You did it for our campaign. When you're a DM, you kind of have to be creative. I'm going to say that, or not kind of. You have to be creative because you're basically not just setting up a campaign. You're setting up a campaign, a map, villains. You've got to create this entire world for your players. And if it's not if it's not grasping or entertaining and it doesn't pull the player in, it ain't going to work. I mean, Baldur's Gate takes that away. You get to see the world. You get to see the villains. You get to see the buildings. You get to see everything. But if we're ever talking about, oh, is this going to replace D&D? No, because nothing will have that same kind of imagination aspect that D&D has.
Yeah, and the whole reason why I just hate hearing constantly this is the D&D killer, and stuff like that is because it's like, it's the fact that, like, I get it. With current stuff, like, doing D&D in an online setting is not anywhere near as entertaining.
Yeah.
But once again, it's Baldur's Gate 3 isn't the first game to emulate D&D.
No.
I hate how people act like it's like the first thing to ever do that. It's like it's not, because Divinity Original Sin did it. Pathfinder basically is D&D, but just a slightly different system. Pillars of Eternity is D&D, but a slightly different system. Like fuck, dude, Pillars of Eternity feels more like D&D than Baldur's Gate does. Like I hate the general idea that just out of nowhere, oh, we're gonna get, like Baldur's Gate 3 is gonna make people play D&D. It's like, no, video games aren't gonna make you want to play D&D. Because, for instance, I love D&D. I don't care for Pillars of Eternity. Like, I don't care for like Pathfinder.
Why?
And it's I don't know. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like whenever I've played them, I just kind of was like, eh.
Yeah. No, I get it. I just didn't know if there was like a specific reason to where you were like, this is X, Y, and Z why I don't like it.
No, it's more or less of just as I played through it, I was like, like, this is kind of just kind of a little shaky for me. But I mean, once again, like Baldur's Gate is one of those games that like they emulate D&D really well.
Yeah.
But you also miss out on the group aspect of D&D. And I think that's the main thing. I don't care how good of a fucking DM you are. I don't care how good of a storyteller you are. It's not as entertaining if you don't have people there to play it with.
Yeah, well, I mean,
that's why
it's a little bit of give and take because, like, I mean, let's go back to the Critical Role example that you threw out and how I said they're on the complete other side where, yes, they're actually using figurines and they've actually got, like, that high-end production, but let's be honest, Matt Mercer, fucking probably one of the best GMs and like kind of GMs brings you into the world, but then also the players that they have playing. I mean, yes, it's easy when you're a professional voice actor. It's like, oh, this is kind of what I do. But there's also a side of the creativity on the player to where it's like, not everyone's ideas are great. To where it's like, if you create a bad character, there's either two things that can happen with that. You either create a bad character, you don't know how to run with it, it's a bad idea, it ruins like your experience in the campaign, or like I've seen in different videos on YouTube, oh, you made a bad character, you made a rogue who is bad at fucking stealth, who is bad at fucking deceiving people. Like, this could be something that you kind of lean into and you make it your own kind of thing to kind of make your experience still a good one. There has to be creativity on both sides with it, or else the experience for you or the experience for your fellow players might suffer.
Yeah. And just to get back to the expectations, I think this has very good potential to be the best Baldur's Gate game. And it's because, obviously they're in the right hands. Like, Baldur's Gate 2 was an insanely good game. And, like, my expectations are high. It's just the only thing I'm worried about is how do you follow up from 3? Or how do you follow up from 2? And it's because, like, the bar is set so high to where, like, I always go into every game of expecting, it's going to be okay. And I know it sounds bad to do that, but at the same time, I don't want to set my expectations at the moon and just only reach the stratosphere or something like that. You know what I mean?
No, I do. And it's kind of like like you said, it sucks because I'm on the other side, Soapy, where I'm the hype machine. Like, fuck yeah, let's go. Expectations to the moon. This is going to be great. Unless it doesn't look like it's going to be great. Then I don't hype it up. But, like, if it looks like a good game, fuck yeah, let's go. Hype that thing up to the moon. This is going to be the greatest game ever. And I mean, there's some times where it's like, okay, this isn't as great as I thought it was. But many times it's like that first time playing and I'm like, fuck yeah, this is awesome. I love fucking playing this game. This is what I've been waiting for. But yeah, I do understand let me go in with lower expectations, because then if it's better than that, holy shit, like this is better than what I expected. Let's kind of do a pivot. We're going to go from Baldur's Gate, talking about some D&D multiplayer experience, to talking about Marvel's Avengers, but more so games as a service, because right now I've got two articles, both of them from Video Game Chronicle. The first one reads this: Marvel's Avengers matchmaking problems are reportedly been exacerbated by a decent player count, or a declining player count, with the PC version of the live service game said to be notably affected. 5 days after the title's September 4 release, developer Crystal Dynamics said it was working to deliver significant improvements requested for matchmaking. Some of these were provided in the game's first major post-release patch, V1.3.0, on September 18th. CD claimed the patch addressed 1,000 issues players had helped surface in the 2 weeks since the game's release in various fixes and multiplayer and matchmaking systems. Basically, on top of that, Soapy, we have an article of the big thing there was you have 1,000 players, a declining base of 1,000 players, especially on the PC side. The other one is that CD has said it's confident players will return to Marvel's Avengers as it continues to plan post-release content and improvements for the superhero game. This week it was reported that the matchmaking problems in the Avengers were being exacerbated by a declining player count, with the PC version dipping below 1,000 concurrent players for the second consecutive day on Thursday. Even on console, finding other players to group up with has reportedly become more difficult since the game's launch in September. In a statement published on Thursday via Kotaku, Crystal Dynamics studio head Scott Amos said the developer was listening to the concerns and suggestions of its player base and insisted he was confident that its audience numbers would grow. Amos listed a number of features planned to be added to Avengers, including new mission types, a new outpost, and new characters including Kate Bishop and Clint Barton. Every day we fight to make the best game possible for our community, he said. We have a great community management team at Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix who funnel all of your concerns, suggestions, and feedback to the development team daily. Soapy, here's the question I want to ask with this, and to me this goes into a broader discussion, because Avengers is a games as service where it's like it's an ongoing game. This was something where we see Overwatch, The Division 2, Anthem, Avengers. All of these games are like, once you beat the game, it's all dependent on, okay, what's your multiplayer like? What is your open world like, to where I can keep playing this game and having fun with it. Soapy, the question I want to ask you is, what do you think is the biggest problem with games as a service? And do you think we could ever fix that to make them better? Because it seems like a lot of these games as services, I think of Anthem especially, in the fact of like, we hype them up, then they come out and it's either, wow, that was not enough gameplay to keep me intrigued to where I quit, or like Dave said, Avengers is just so repetitive. What do you think is the biggest problem with games as a service?
I think my biggest problem with them is they always feel so half-assed. Like, it always seems like they're so front-loaded.
Okay.
Of like, oh, like, if they have a story, like, oh, it's all in story, you know, we're doing all this. And, like, I feel like that's kind of what it was with the Avengers, of doing the shit in between missions to grind up. Like,
my whole thing level was like, up to 140. I think it's what, 140 was the max.
No, I think I got all my characters to level 20, and I got so fucking bored of the game, I have not touched it since. Because, like, and I'm sorry, I will say it until the day I die. The game has a good concept, but holy fuck, Dave is not wrong. That game is so goddamn repetitive. Like, and my only problem is, it's not like, for instance, like with Destiny, of like Vault of Glass and shit like that, of where it's like, oh, you know, you're doing the same run through every time. That's more like a WoW dungeon. Like, that is more of like, yes, it's repetitive, you get shit from it. I can play through an entire mission on Avengers and not get a single piece of gear that's good.
See, yeah, that's a problem. Like, that's the thing where it's like, if you're making a game, and this is where I feel like you brought up the magic word, Soapy, is I think that games as a service, the thing that they have to look at for me to make it better is, okay, what are our buddies in the MMO service doing? Because you look at games, if I'm making a games as a service game like the Division 2, like Avengers, Anthem, usually these games revolve around you're getting gear to up your players. And Division 2, when I played that one, yet again, that was a game where after X amount of months, I dropped off before the next patch came out, where I'm going to get to that. But like when it comes to the gear thing, I would look at like what WoW does. Say, okay, instead of being so front loaded, like of course you want your first experience to be a positive one. You want to bring the player in, but if the back of the game is not like once you get to the end of the storyline or the leveling, however your game of service game is developed, once you get to that end game portion, if it's not there, if nothing is there, it seems so weak, players are going to drop off. And the whole point of a games of a service, and this is the tricky thing of it, you constantly have to have players be engaged, be intrigued, because let's be honest, there's a ton of games out there. And like Spider-Man, for example, I play through Spider-Man, I beat Spider-Man, I'm done with it, I put it on the shelf. A games of service isn't like that. A games of service is the whole point you're doing it is to keep that player base engaged, keep them in the game, because if you don't, your game will suffer. The other side of it, I bring up WoW. The thing that WoW has that games like the Division 2, Marvel, and all these other games of services won't have is they will never reach the amount of players that WoW has. That even when people drop off from BFA, WoW doesn't have a problem with Raid Finder or Dungeon Finder or anything like that because of how many players they have playing the game in the first place.
Yeah, and I think Avengers' biggest problem with their end game is that it literally just feels like I'm just playing through the middle of the game again.
Yeah. You're doing all those like side missions just over and
even
over
at
and over.
that, it's because then like they put one high level mission on there to where they're like, oh, look at that, here's a level 50 mission. It's like, cool, I'm at like level 15.
Yeah.
Why the fuck are you showing me that already?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like you see the rest of the missions, they're like, oh, level 15, level 15. It's like, okay, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like you just do the missions and it's like, okay, I'm not like every mission plays exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that's annoying. Like obviously with Destiny and shit like that, like shooters are limited in how a mission plays.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as I don't want to be like have a double standard of like, oh, Destiny or Division 2 can get away with this, but like Marvel can't. Like it's just the way that they can run theirs, it works better because the whole thing of, shooters are gonna feel like a shooter, and obviously Marvel has that weird, unique fit of like, it's there and like the missions seem like what you would expect them to.
Yeah.
And I also do want to address the whole thing that they talked about, like, oh, we're confident players are going to come back when we add new missions. And it's like, okay, how many new missions? Because if you add just one or two, that's not going to make me be like, oh shit, dude, time to boot up the game again.
Well, and that's the thing of like what I was going to get to. And this is like, with me, happened with the Division 2, where Division 2, I bought it, I played it. I loved it. I loved the gunplay of everything. I loved the missions. I loved playing with other people. But then I got through everything that I had to get through, and it's like, okay, when's the next update for this game coming out? Because, like, repetitiveness in a games of service is never, or games as a service, you're never going to get rid of that completely. There's always going to be some sort of repetitiveness in the game. It's just the fact of, is that masked with the player having a good time? If the player's not having a good time, that's just going to seep with them. And it's going to be like, oh, well, I'm not having a good time. Where if they don't really feel that repetitiveness, it's like, oh, I'm having a good time. It's kind of a tricky situation. But like with the updates, the longer you have a base wait for an update. And I know that, I mean, it's been 2 months? Like, we knew in November that this was going to happen, that there was going to be an update. The fact is, what didn't you do in the base game to make sure your player base didn't fall off before that first update? To where either one of two things needed to happen, Soapy. You needed to have more content in your base game. I'm not talking story. It could be like anything. More so, it seems like for Avengers, it was the actual end game that needed more substance to it. But then number two, if you had an idea of, oh shit, there might not be enough after they complete the story to keep them engaged, why did Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix plan the update for Hawkeye to be in November and not October? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, your updates, you can't have your updates so far away to where, because like if I'm playing the game and it's like, okay, now I kind of have nothing else to do until this comes out, you're going to have players drop out because they're going to be like, well, I may come back. But then you run the issue of like, yeah, some may come back because it's like, oh shit, Hawkeye's in the game, Kate Bishop's in the game, I want to play as them. But there might be other ones that are like, you know what? I'm having fun playing, Shadowlands right now. I'm having fun, Shadowlands is later, but I'm having fun playing the World of Warcraft pre-patch, which is coming out Tuesday. I'm having fun playing Crash Bandicoot right now. I'm having fun playing X, Y, and Z games that are coming out. Hades on the Steam and Nintendo Switch side, to where it's like some of these players might not be coming back because their attentions are already somewhere else. And it's so much harder to re-grab someone's attention after they've already had that mindset of that block of like, I have disconnected from your game.
Yeah, and I'm going to be brutally honest. Mm-hmm. Hawkeye has to be an absolute banger for me to even consider wanting to go back. And the whole reason why and I said this before, I feel like all the characters just feel like they play the same, just slightly different.
Yeah, where we even talked about they were going to have, are these going to be actual, like, new characters? Or, like, for War Machine, if they ever add him, is it just like, oh, War Machine's like Iron Man, except he's got a gun over his shoulder?
Yeah, and just my whole thought process is, we kept hearing, all these characters play different, they all play different, and the only thing that really feels different is, like, their combos hit different. Because otherwise it's like, Black Widow and Thor kind of play the same. Like, Iron Man plays, like, the most different out of everybody.
Yeah, because he's the only one that can, like, fly and has the repulsor rays instead of, like, he's not throwing punches.
Yeah, of where it's like Captain America feels really similar to
Does he?
Black Widow. Yeah.
Does he?
To me, at least.
Okay. To me, Cap was my favorite to play with. He, like, out of, like, even when I played the beta with that starting mission, like, the thing with Captain America, though, is maybe I was so high on him because, A, he's my favorite, but B, his combos and the way he played reminded me of Arkham Knight playing as Batman. The only difference is he had a fucking shield that he could throw at you.
Yeah, and it's like Kamala Khan and Hulk play exactly the fucking same.
Yep. The only difference is one has a big-ass stretchy hand that she can throw at you. Hulk doesn't have that kind of range.
Yeah, and the whole thing is, like, and it's just, in my opinion, seeing that, and I'm like, all I kept hearing was, like, oh, all these characters are going to play the same. No one's the same. Yeah. But everyone feels the same.
Also, wasn't PS players supposed to get, like, Spider-Man? And we have seen
he's
nothing.
Coming out, like, next year.
Yeah, but, like, you know what I... like,
because they already announced he's coming out after Hawkeye.
That's another thing, though. Like, if you're going to make that announcement, don't have players wait like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it goes on into the... like, oh yeah, he's coming. He's going to come out this date. But if you lose half your player base by the time he comes out, it doesn't even matter that he came out because you lost half your player base.
Don't worry, he's probably just going to end up playing like fucking Black Widow, so...
yeah, I mean, it's just... games of service, that's the biggest thing that irks me about them is the timing of everything. Because, like, I feel like the only game that's hit it right and they're kind of in their own pool is Overwatch. And the only reason I call them a game of service is because they have the ongoing characters. You don't have to pay for the updates. But my mom just came in, so I'm going to let you talk a little bit, Soapy, so I can see what she wants.
Okay. Yeah, it's the only thing that I don't agree with Overwatch being a games of service is just because of the fact of, like, games of service to me kind of have, like, end game stuff. I just view it as, like, it's just a multiplayer game.
Yeah, and that's the thing with it, where it's like...
Like, I view it as, like, it's like TF2.
Yeah.
TF2 isn't, like, a games of service.
Yeah,
and I'm not trying to say that, like, in an asshole way.
Because, like, the whole thing I was thinking, it's like, oh, well, Overwatch is repetitive. Yeah, but it's supposed to be repetitive. To where it's like, you're going in it, I go up, I face this team, these players have this ability, and, like, you don't feel like, oh, this game's repetitive. But, like, it's the same time, they're, like, maybe that's why their updates can be like, oh, the new characters are so far away, to where it's like games of services can't do that. The repetitiveness hurts you. So instead of having, like, a 2-month base, and this is like with Avengers, you have so many GD heroes and villains that you could do. I would almost sit there, and maybe this would be too much, but fuck it, I'll throw it out there. Every single month, a new thing. Whether it's a new, like, you know, this villain has now come and, like, crashed down, and it's a complete DLC type of update that you can go ahead and play this storyline, or, oh, we have a new hero this month. Like, every single month should have something mapped out to where it's something new for the players, because if it's a good game, they're going to play it, they're going to get through that content quick, and you have to reward the players for doing that.
Yeah, and because then I can even use other examples of it shouldn't be that hard. And obviously I know it's going to sound like I'm, you know, putting a lot of strain on game devs. Like, I'm going to use Smite, for example. Smite, at one point, was putting out a new character every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Was that like when it first came out?
No, that was like last year. Okay. They were putting out like new characters every 2 weeks. Obviously, this year they slowed down because they did start getting to the point where every character felt the same. Mm-hmm. But, like, and it's one of the things, I get it, Avengers is going to take a lot more effort. But once again, like, a character once a month should not be that difficult. I don't know why it takes 2 months to make one character.
It doesn't even need to be a new character once a month. Like, they could have, like, okay, what I would do is map out your characters. Let's say every few months you want a new character. That's great. But, like, okay, for October, why don't we do something where there's an event? And yeah, Dave makes a good point. Depends on the devs. Like you said, you don't want to add too much to the devs, but, like, even if it's like hey, we're going to have an event in October where such and such villain crashes down, there's going to be new unique missions, new gear, new this, new that, so that even though you're still playing with the same heroes, it feels like a different experience. You know what I'm saying? And, like, you're using these different villains that everybody has. And I know you might be like, well, Ricky, what about Avengers 2? Get through Avengers 1 first. Like, if Avengers 1 fails, there is no Avengers 2. So you can't put the cart in front of the horse.
Yeah, and just my whole reason of why I was saying the whole, like, new characters are important is because at some point people are going to get bored playing as Thor. They're going to get bored playing as every character. Yeah. And, like, and obviously, like, I'm not going to say, like, oh, you know, like, a new character every month, because, like, that would be fucking absurd.
But every 2 months?
Yeah, like, every 2 months, at least, like, let players know, like, hey, this is what the roadmap for the year is. This is this event for the month. Yeah. And have it where, like, you're constantly running events. Because if you notice, free-to-play games and shit like that constantly have events going on. Yep. And it's to get players' investment.
And like, that's kind of what I mean, like, with the, like, oh, here's the new villain thing. That's a great word. Like, an October event for players to get invested into.
Yeah, and for instance, like, you can have it that, like, I'm trying to think of an example of, like, and obviously I know people are gonna be like hear the word and they're gonna be like, oh my fucking god, I can't believe Soapy's bringing this up. Like, have it that every, like, for instance, for certain seasons you have different cosmetics that you can only get during that month. Of where, like, for instance, like, you can get Halloween themed fucking skins for like Captain America and stuff like that during October,
like what Overwatch does.
Yeah, and obviously don't have that be the only thing, but like, you know, for instance, like, have it that, like, every month have different things that go with different events that you're doing in the game. Because the whole thing is you need that constant cycle of events. Because once you beat the game, there's no reason to keep playing.
Yeah.
Because yes, I know there's like the higher level missions you can do, and it's like, okay, it's gonna feel the exact same as a mission that I can do at like level 5.
No, you're right.
And for instance, I'd even say start adding stuff that's kind of like dungeons and raids and stuff like that. Like, I think that's an important thing. Like, obviously put a level cap on it. I say, like, hey, you know, you need to get to at least like this gear score or whatever to be able to participate in this. And then, for instance, once again, you can cycle those in and out.
And I'm going to throw this out here, like Dave in Twitch chat. The prob is the repetitive gameplay mission. So if you put a cap on, you have to be at this gear score for it. Because the missions are repetitive as it is, will that create a problem? Or in this perfect world, you're saying my missions aren't creative because I did X, Y, and Z to make sure they were not, or have more diversity in the missions.
Yeah, I mean, my whole thing was when I was saying like these are capped at a certain thing, is those come after you start updating missions and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I would honestly say, swap missions in and out. Don't have it that I can just repeat the same mission over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, like, add new styles of missions. Of where, for instance, like, I would almost say, like, have like a payload type mission of like, hey, take this item and get it to this end of the map. And stuff like that. And the whole thing of how they have all like the mini objectives on the map. There's no point in fucking doing them half the time.
Yeah.
Because they're just a hassle.
Because like I'm just gonna do the main mission and that's gonna be it.
Yeah. Because, like, for instance, it's whenever they have like you have to complete this puzzle to get inside the AIM building. I don't want to I don't want to do puzzles. I'm playing a fucking Avengers game. I don't want to fucking sit here and do puzzles. Well, I don't want to have to be like, all right, shit, I gotta stand here, then I gotta run over here real quick, hit this button.
That just reminds me of what Jake brought up with Fallen Order, where it's like, it's a Star Wars game. I don't want to do fucking puzzles. Who wants to do puzzles? I want to fucking whoosh whoosh. Here's my lightsaber. Zoom 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 zoom. It just made me think of that. It was funny.
But yeah, it's like, I almost feel like if you separated those mini objectives out into their own missions, you start diversifying it. Because then, for instance, like when they have the like, oh, there's an elite AIM team that's in the area, have that be a mission in its own. Like, obviously, you know, make that mission much harder because the elite AIM agents always end up being absolute shit anyways. But for instance, like, have it that as you go throughout the campaign, especially when you beat it, have it that you can, like, if, let's say, like, a mission pops up where they're... Okay, just so I can make sure, have you beaten the game yet? So I don't have to worry about spoiling it for you?
I have not.
Alright, let's say you beat the final villain.
I'm sorry, I bought WoW time, and then it was fucking, I'm playing WoW nonstop. See, I am a prime example of shit got boring. I'm gonna go play something else.
It's more of a, I just constantly am playing WoW.
Yeah, it's more of a.
It didn't even get boring for you.
It's more of a shiny object. Let's be like, ooh, piece of candy, that kind of a thing.
Yeah. You were like, oh man, dude, I can't wait to play Avengers. Plays it once, and it's just like, oh, dude, shit. And Dave's like, oh shit, dude, I'll bring my PlayStation back and play with you. And you're just like, actually, no.
That old mistress came calling, that old siren, and she's singing to me, and I was like, I'll come back to you. I will drop money on you. Shadowlands is coming out. Oh wait, no, it's not coming out anytime soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically what happened.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, like, let's say you beat the final boss. Have it to where then a mission pops up where you can repeat that final boss fight. Because one, I'm going to be honest, the boss fights, like, as much as I honestly didn't like a lot of them, I'm going to be brutally honest here. Like, they weren't bad. I wasn't like, oh my god, dude, like, these boss fights are terrible. Like, I hate every one of these missions.
Yeah, it was just kind of like, nah, it was okay.
Yeah, just have it that they're like, hey, you know, we spotted this person here. And then, boom, you just get to fight that person in different areas. Obviously, with the final villain, it doesn't work out exactly like that. But you know what I mean? Like, basically bring in, like, Like, for instance, Abomination. Just have it I fight Abomination in a different area or something like that.
Okay.
But this time make him, like, stronger than he was in the campaign.
Yeah.
Or, just even with other villains that pop up, just say, hey, we've spotted this person in the area, go deal with them.
Yeah. I mean, games of service will always be a tricky mistress. And this is not just Avengers, to where it's like, you got to keep your base entertained. You got to keep their interest in there because, like I said, it's not like Spider-Man. Where Spider-Man, I beat the game, I'm done with it. It's a linear story. Boom. Let's go. You're always going to have updates or something to keep people engaged. Soapy, because of time, we're going to pull an audible really quick.
Okay.
And we're going to jump. We're going to do one last topic. We're going to push the other two to Monday. And the only reason we'll do this topic is because it's short and we don't really need to push it. Is your only shorty but a goodie today. Mortal Kombat 11 has an announcement. They're having a new combat pack. Combat Pack 2 is Rain. So the two fighters joining the fight, Melina and Rambo, are in Mortal Kombat 11. And Combo Pack 2 is Rain, the purple ninja, named after Prince. Dominic Ciancillo, I hope I said his name right, story and voiceover director at NetherRealm, says on the PlayStation blog, Rain now wields a katar, which he uses to slash and stab his opponents. Rain can also use his magic to open a rift to a previously unknown watery realm. Here, all of his classic moves are reimagined. His water powers are also expressed in new and unique ways. Soapy, although Mortal Kombat 11 I had bought, I haven't played a lot of. The one thing I'm excited about this, I'll be honest, Rambo coming to Mortal Kombat 11, whatever. This is kind of just like the crossovers, all like the Terminator and shit that they're going to have. The one that I'm glad is coming to Mortal Kombat 11, though, is Melina, because she was one of my favorite characters to play with. It was either Armageddon or Deadly Alliance. Oh, was it Deadly Alliance was the one with the coffins? And then Armageddon was the one that came out right after that. I think she was in Armageddon. And she was one of my favorite characters to play with. She was one of my favorite fatalities in that game with her fucking, like, demon mouth that was usually covered by, like, the little, like, purple cloth. So excited that she is, like, when I saw that, I was like, fuck yeah. I'm glad Melina is in Mortal Kombat 11. Soapy, I know fighting games aren't usually your jam, but I will ask you, anything excite you about this? You excited about Rambo, about a little Sylvester Stallone coming into Mortal Kombat?
I mean, not so much about Rambo. I'm happy Melina and Rain are in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because Rain in Mortal Kombat 9 was one of my favorite characters.
Was he? Yeah, he was one that I, like, when I saw it, I was like, I don't know really. Like me, it was like, I was more of a Scorpion Sub-Zero guy when it came to the ninjas.
Yeah. I've always been more of a Smoke and Rain guy, so.
Okay.
And anyone who says they're a noob, who plays Noob Saibot, they're not allowed to talk to me anymore.
So, I'm just going to ask this because I'm not a Mortal Kombat aficionado. I just know about it. So, Scorpion was yellow, Sub-Zero was blue, obviously. Smoke was gray or black? Gray. Rain was purple. And then, what was it? Reptile was green?
Yep.
Right? And there was there a red one?
No, that was, well, it's weird.
Okay.
Because technically there's two yellow.
Okay.
But we only count one of them as yellow, because that's where, Cyrax and,
Good point.
I always forget what the other robot's called.
Okay.
That's where they come in, because they also were ninjas.
Okay.
Because they come from the same clan as,
As Scorpion?
No. From Sub-Zero.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Because they come from the same one. Because they're the ones that went through the cybernetic program to become robots.
Okay. Yeah.
Because that's also why they hate Sub-Zero.
The three that I usually know of.
Oh, fuck. I forgot about Ermac.
Ermac. Was Ermac? Is he the red one that Dave said? Is that the guess? Okay. Yeah. With me, it was Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and then I knew about Reptile because Dave can correct me if I was wrong. I think Dave liked Reptile as a kid, the green one. But yeah, Sub-Zero and...
so there's technically two then. Wow, so there's technically 2 red and 2 yellow, if you count Cyrex and whatever their fucking other name was.
Yeah, 2 reds, 2 yellows, 1 blue, 1 green, 1 black, 1 purple.
And 1 black, baby.
And 1 black, baby.
But that's Noob Cybot.
But that is going to do it for MVP Games Live today. I want to thank you guys for giving us your time. Remember, check out the Discord down below. Greatest idea Dave ever had, making that free for everyone to join. So click the link down below or !Discord into chat to get that link. If you want to support us, patreon.com/MVPvids is how you go ahead and do that. You can also support us at Twitch, where we're live every Monday through Friday. Twitch.tv/MVPvids, but we're also on YouTube at MVP Entertainment. Thank you to our Patreon sponsors, Pat Hill and Philly Sean. Soapy and I will be back on Monday. Dave and I are coming up next on Twitch for MVP Sports Live. And as always, have a good day, everybody.
Bye.